Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, everyone. I hope you can hear me, and I hope, yes, I think I am in tune with the Facebook. At least Zoom says that way. So today we are continuing with lectures from Caitanya Charitamrita. We are going to go through the verses of chapter 4, which is entitled The Confidential Reasons for the Appearance of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. As always, I will share the verses on the screen. We have a lot of verses to read. I was actually for Janmashtami, so the appearance day of Lord Krishna, I was sitting in a lecture of one gentleman here in Switzerland who was talking about chapter 4 of Caitanya Charitamrita. And he said that this chapter is actually the most important chapter for a sadhaka or a practitioner of Bhakti Yoga in his spiritual life, because it explains the most confidential secrets, and it reveals actually what is our goal and what is our eternal position, who we should serve, and how the mercy of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is so great. I mean, it explains how the mercy is so great, and it explains what it is that he came to give us here in this material world. And I also asked him a question, because I was also wondering, we are going now, actually, we are just at the 4th chapter of Caitanya Charitamrita, and there's so many chapters awaiting on us to speak about them. But like the most confidential subjects, the highest subjects of Bhakti Yoga are discussed in this 4th chapter. So why is it so? And of course, I mean, it was an obvious answer, but it's like to explain like what was the mood of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who is he, how is he connected to Krishna, and what did he came actually to give. So, and as we said, that Lord Krishna cannot be disconnected with Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, because it was established in the previous chapter that Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. We also explained what was the mind of Lord Krishna, what he was thinking before he appeared as Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu in this world. So we said that he was just thinking like that. Yes, he did descend to perform his pastimes 5,000 years ago, but then upon leaving, he decided that, and he was thinking that he didn't actually distribute for a long time the taste for the highest rasa that exists in the spiritual world, which is the Madhurya rasa. So he decided then to descend as Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu and teach it by himself, by his own example. And we also said how even the sannyasa of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is very much connected with the separation of Srimati Radharani, which she experiences in the pastimes of Lord Krishna when he descends 5,000 years ago. So in a way, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to fulfill many of his internal desires and even some promises that he had. So because if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, when he left Vrindavan, he never returned. So the gopis, and especially Radharani, and all the inhabitants of Vrindavan were very much immersed in the feelings of separation towards Krishna. So, and especially Srimati Radharani. And so he decided to pay the debt of her love in a way, and put himself in the same situation that she is in. So he took the mood of Srimati Radharani, and we explained why. So he had 3 desires. The first desire was to understand the greatness of Radharani's love. So he wanted to understand actually what she was feeling from inside. Then the second desire was that he wanted to taste his own sweetness. It was explained in one lecture that I was listening to how the Lord's sweetness and Radharani's love yeah, I think that was the word. Yeah, greatness of her love and Krishna's sweetness are competing all the time for Radharani's happiness in exhibiting that love towards Krishna. So, or Radharani's service towards Krishna. So they're all competing with Krishna's sweetness. So whenever Radharani's love towards Krishna increases, then Krishna's sweetness increases, and then Radharani's love increases. So they always compete. So when Krishna was observing that, he wanted to taste it. So these were his internal desires. And the third desire was that he wanted to taste Radharani's happiness. Yeah. So the greatness of her love and happiness were always in competition with Lord's sweetness. And by fulfilling these three desires, he put himself in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And he also paid a debt that he was actually feeling towards her, because he has put her in separation when he left Vrindavan. Just have to check one thing before we start. Okay, so we stopped at the verse 416 of Chaitanya Charitamrita Lila, and we will continue with this verse. But before we start, I should sing a prayer for auspiciousness. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda. So we always pray to the previous saints that they give us their blessings so that we can hear and speak on the topics of Krishna and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the benefit of everyone. So the verse 460 goes like this. That Hladini energy gives Krishna pleasure and nourishes his devotees. So to repeat what we were actually mentioning the last time we were talking about these verses, is that Lord has three energies. He has Samvit energy, he has Sandhini energy, and he has Khandini energy. So I think that Samvit is, I don't know if I was, yeah. Samvit is the knowledge potency. Sandhini is the existential potency, and Hladini is the pleasure potency. So these potencies consist of, so spiritual energy consists of these potencies. And there is a certain personality that represents each potency. So this Hladini potency, or the pleasure-giving potency, is represented in the person of Srimati Radharani, because she is the greatest devotee of Krishna, and she gives pleasure to Krishna by her service and her activities and everything that she is. The Sandhini Shakti, or existential potency, is represented in the, I think it's in the personality of Lord Balaram. And the Samvit Shakti, or cognitive potency, is represented in the personality of Krishna. Yeah, that is so. So Sandhini Shakti, the existential potency, is manifested in Lord Balaram, who is the second expansion of Lord Krishna. So as we already, we read the story of how actually there existed a one person, Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had a desire to enjoy. So because of the desire to enjoy, he decided to become many, and he therefore manifested himself as many and started to enjoy. But as the personality of Godhead potency, or the cause of all causes, or this primeval Lord, he expanded himself first into two personalities. One was Srimati Radharani, with whom he exchanges this loving relationship of Madhurya Rasa. And the other one the other expansion was Lord Balaram, who is also one of his greatest servants. He is represented as his brother, and he is also one of the greatest servants in the sense that he serves Krishna through producing other expansions, and also everything that is manifested in the spiritual and material world actually comes from his energies. So in that sense, he supports the existence of the spiritual and material worlds. And in that sense, he represents the Sandhini Shakti. And Samvit Shakti, or cognitive potency, means the knowledge of Krishna, and it is represented of our relationship of the truth of everything that exists, and it is represented in Lord Krishna himself. So he's like the representative personality of that energy. And also these three energies are connected to the qualities of the soul and the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we say that the soul is full of existence or eternity, knowledge, and bliss. So these three potencies as well are represented in each spirit soul, and also in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Sachit Ananda Vigraha. So the form of eternity, full knowledge, and blissfulness. But in this context, in the context of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Srimati Radharani is emphasized as his Hladini potency. And as we said, she's connected with the internal reasons or internal desires, while Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu actually appeared in this material world and what he wanted to taste. So in his pastimes in the spiritual world, and also in the pastimes that he manifested on this earth 5,000 years ago, he was experiencing an exchange with Srimati Radharani, who is the representative of his Hladini energy. And he wanted to taste what it is to be like her, what it is to taste her sweetness. And he wanted to feel how happy she is, because it is known throughout the Shastras that Srimati Radharani, as the greatest servant of the Lord, she experiences more happiness than the Lord experiences by her service. Just by serving him, she experiences more happiness. So he wanted to also experience this increasing happiness that she has. But he also realized that she experiences this ever-increasing happiness by tasting his sweetness. So he also wanted to taste what is his ever-increasing sweetness. So that's how the whole situation for the appearance of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu happened. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that he actually explains what is Hladini potency, what is Sandhini Shakti, and what is Samvit Shakti. It is said in the Vishnu Purana, the Lord is addressed as follows: O Lord, you are the support of everything. The three attributes, Hladini, Sandhini, and Samvit, exist in you as one spiritual energy. But the material modes which cause happiness, misery, and mixtures of the two do not exist in you, for you have no material qualities. Hladini is the personal manifestation of the blissfulness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by which he enjoys pleasure. Because the pleasure potency is perpetually present in the Supreme Lord, the theory of the impersonalists that the Lord appears in the material mode of goodness cannot be accepted. The impersonalist conclusion is against the Vedic version that the Lord possesses a transcendental pleasure potency. When the pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is exhibited by the grace in the person of a devotee, that manifestation is called love of God. Love of God is an epithet for the pleasure potency of the Lord. Therefore, devotional service reciprocated between the Lord and his devotee is an exhibition of the transcendental pleasure potency of the Lord. The potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that always enriches him with transcendental bliss is not material, but the Shankarites have accepted it as such because they are ignorant of the identity of the Supreme Lord and his pleasure potency. Those ignorant persons cannot understand the distinction between impersonal spiritual bliss and the radiateness of the spiritual pleasure potency. The Hladini potency gives the Lord all transcendental pleasure, and the Lord bestows such a potency upon his pure devotee. So what Srila Prabhupada actually explained here is that the impersonalists, or even various kind of philosophers, speculators, they think that the relationship that the Lord exhibits towards his devotees and devotees towards him is material, and it comes from the material energy. But here it is stated that that is not so. The relationship is based on the energy which is spiritual, because the Lord is transcendental and spiritual, and therefore he can only be approached by the energy which is spiritual and transcendental, which means that only Hladini potency can serve the Lord, and the Hladini potency is manifested in a pure devotee. It is said that the Hladini potency gives the Lord all transcendental pleasure, and the Lord bestows such a potency upon his pure devotee. So this Radharani's potency, Hladini potency, so she is the personification of this potency, and she gives pleasure to the Lord. And it says that it nourishes his devotees. So this potency also nourishes the devotees in the sense that it is bestowed upon them so that they can serve the Lord as well, and also experience the highest bliss. Text 461. Lord Krishna's body is eternal, sat, full of knowledge, chit, and full of bliss, ananda. He is one spiritual energy manifest in three forms. So this is what I have explained, that these are the qualities and manifestation of the spiritual body of Krishna. He doesn't have material qualities. He is completely spiritual and transcendental, and that spirituality and transcendence is manifested in eternity, fullness of knowledge, and fullness of bliss. Hladini is his aspect of bliss, Sandini, or eternal existence, of eternal existence, and Samvit of cognizance, which is also accepted as knowledge. So all this we mentioned. Let's read a little bit the purport of Srila Prabhupada, because he will give clarifications. In his thesis, Bhagavad Sandarbha, Srila Jiva Goswami explains the potencies of the Lord as follows. So Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave instructions to his most confidential associates, and one of them were Sanatana and Rupa Goswami, and their nephew Jiva Goswami also received knowledge from them, and he was therefore able to write many commentaries on the sacred literatures. So he explains all this in his books. He says that the transcendental potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by which he maintains his existence, is called Sandini. So it is represented in the person, as we said, of Lord Balaram, which is the second expansion of Lord Krishna. The transcendental potency by which he knows himself and causes others to know him is called Samvit. So this potency is represented in Lord Krishna. The transcendental potency by which he possesses transcendental bliss and causes his devotees to have bliss is called Hladini, which is represented in the personality of Srimati Radharani. The total exhibition of this potency is called Vishuddha Sattva. So we said that in the material, it is described in the Bhagavad Gita that the material world is made of three modes of material nature: the mode of ignorance, the mode of passion, and the mode of goodness. The mode of ignorance is called Tamoguna. The mode of passion is called Rajaguna, and the mode of goodness is called Sattvaguna. But this Vishuddha Sattva, it belongs to the spiritual world. It has nothing to do with the material modes of nature. It is totally spiritual, and only goodness, pure goodness, exists in the spiritual world, and this goodness is called Vishuddha Sattva. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada explains that this platform of Vishuddha Sattva, of spiritual variegateness is displayed even in the material world when the Lord appears here. The pastimes and manifestations of the Lord in the material world are therefore not at all material. They belong to the pure transcendental state. The Bhagavad Gita confirms that anyone who understands the transcendental nature of the Lord's appearance, activities, and disappearance becomes eligible for freedom from material bondage upon quitting the present material tabernacle. He can enter in the spiritual kingdom to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and reciprocate the Handidi potency in transactions between him and the Lord. In the mundane mode of goodness, there are tinges of passion and ignorance, and therefore the mode of goodness in the material world is not pure. Therefore, the mundane goodness being mixed is called Mishra Sattva. But the transcendental variegateness of Vishuddha Sattva is completely free from all mundane qualities. Vishuddha Sattva is therefore the proper atmosphere in which to experience the personality of Godhead and his transcendental pastimes. So Vishuddha Sattva is also a state of full consciousness of Krishna, and it is the state in which everything that exists actually exists for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord and exchanges in that sense with the Lord. So if it is Mishra Sattva or mixed goodness, there is always some material motivation. But in the spiritual world, there is no material motivation and no material contamination of the activity towards Krishna. So Vishuddha Sattva is therefore the proper atmosphere in which to experience the personality of Godhead and his transcendental pastime. Spiritual variegateness is eternally independent of all material conditions and is not different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, both being absolute. The Lord and his devotees simultaneously perceive the Hladini potency directly by the power of Samvik potency. So the Samvik potency, we said, is the knowledge potency, which gives the Lord knowledge of himself and gives other the knowledge of him as such. And if the Samvik potency gives us knowledge about Lord Krishna, it also gives us a knowledge about us and our relationship with Krishna. And if we understand and if we know and we're cognizant of our relationship with Krishna, the exchange in which this relationship happens produces Hladini potency, which is pleasure for both sides. We are servants of the Lord who are giving pleasure to the Lord, but automatically the same pleasure or even the higher pleasure is experienced by us as well, because the Lord reciprocates in this relationship. The material modes of nature control the conditioned souls, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead is never influenced by these modes, as all Vedic literatures directly and indirectly corroborate. Lord Krishna himself says in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sattvam Rajas Tama iti guna jivasya naivame. The material modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance are connected with the conditioned souls, but never with me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vishnu Purana confirms this as follows. Satvadayona santishe yatra prakrita gunaha Sashuda Sarvashu Devya Umanadya Prasidatu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu is beyond the three qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance. No material qualities exist in him. May that original person, Narayana, who is situated in a completely transcendental position, be pleased with us. So this is actually the description how Krishna has nothing to do with material qualities, and actually how the above mentioned potencies are part of his qualities in the sense of what his body is made of. And here, Srila Prabhupada just goes deeper and deeper into this topic. Text 463. O Lord, you are the support of everything. The three attributes, Hladini, Sandini, and Samvit, exist in you as one spiritual energy. But the material modes which cause happiness, misery, and mixtures of the two do not exist in you, for you have no material qualities. So, as we many times mentioned, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, whenever he makes a statement about Krishna, that he's something or that his qualities are in a certain way, he will always quote a verse from the revealed scriptures to make his statements authoritative. It's just like in law, if you want to point at a certain, certain situation in your life and you want to define it in a certain way, then you also have to quote article of the law which refers to that. So if you're defining something as a legal notion, then you have to also give like a reference, authoritative reference, either to case law concerning the matter or the article of law. So I can compare it to that. But yeah, it's just like we want to make it more authoritative, like more serious, that it has seriousness and authority, that all these statements have seriousness and authority. Then it is explained how the essential portion of the Sandhini potency is Shuddha Sattva. Lord Krishna's existence rests upon it. Krishna's mother, father, abode, house, bedding, seats, and so on are all transformations of Shuddha Sattva. So this is the energy that is represented by Lord Balaram. So he's the one who expands everything, so that everything that he expands himself to can serve the Lord. And this also indicates that if someone or something wants to serve the Lord, then it has to be of the same spiritual quality, which is Shuddha Sattva. So therefore, everything that surrounds Krishna, who is pure Shuddha Sattva and has pure qualities of Samrit, Sandhini, and Hladini, he has to be surrounded by Vishuddha Sattva. And only in a pure state of this pure Shuddha Sattva can the Lord be worshipped. The condition of pure goodness, Shuddha Sattva, in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead is revealed without any covering, is called Vasudeva. That pure state of Supreme Godhead, who is beyond the material senses and who is known as Vasudeva, is perceived by my mind. So this is just a text from Srimad Bhagavatam, who is spoken by Lord Shiva when he condemned Daksha, the father of Sati, as an opponent of Vishnu. And by this verse actually confirms that Lord Krishna, his name, his fame, his qualities, and everything in connection with his paraphernalia exists in the Sandhini Shakti of the Lord's internal potency, which means it exists in the condition of pure goodness, or Vishuddha Sattva, which means that it is not that Krishna and everything that surrounds him is not under the influence of material modes of material nature. The essence of the Samvit potency is knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Lord Krishna. All other kinds of knowledge, such as the knowledge of Brahman, are its components. So this is just the potency that gives us the knowledge of Krishna. The essence of the Hladini potency is love of God. The essence of love of God is emotion, bhava, and the ultimate development of emotion is mahabhava. The product of Hladini Shakti is love of Godhead, which has two divisions, namely pure love of Godhead and adulterated love of Godhead. Only when the Hladini Shakti emanates from Krishna and is bestowed upon the living being to attract him, does the living being become a pure lover of God. But when the same Hladini Shakti is adulterated by the external material energy and emanates from the living being, it does not attract Krishna. On the contrary, the living being becomes attracted by the glamour of the material energy. At that time, instead of becoming mad with love of Godhead, the living entity becomes mad after material sense enjoyment. And because of his association with the qualitative modes of material nature, he is captivated by his interactions of distressful, unhappy feelings. So this love of Godhead, love in pure state, prema, in the spiritual world is pure and directed towards Krishna. But that same energy, this Hladini potency, it also exists in the material world, and it also exists in the jivas, but because of it being adulterated by the matter, it becomes lust. So it gives us the tendency to enjoy material nature. But then when this adulterated love is purified, then again it comes to it comes to its constitutional state of purity, and it is directed towards Krishna. Sri Radha Thakurani is the embodiment of Mahabhava. She is the repository of all good qualities and the crest jewel among all lovely consorts of Lord Krishna. So I think now in the following verses, Srimati Radharani will be explained. So as we said, she is the personification of Hladini potency, and she has the highest, she can experience the highest and the purest love towards Krishna. So in the Purport, Prabhupada says that unadulterated action of the Hladini Shakti is displayed in the dealings of the damsels of Raja and Srimati Radharani, who is the topmost participant in that transcendental group. The essence of Hladini Shakti is love of Godhead. The essence of love of Godhead is bhava, or transcendental sentiment, and the highest pitch of that bhava is called Mahabhava. Srimati Radharani is the personified embodiment of these three aspects of transcendental consciousness. She is therefore the highest principle in love of Godhead and is the supreme lovable object of Sri Krishna. So when we were explaining also last time who Srimati Radharani is, we said that the Lord was one, but he divided himself into two in order to enjoy. And when he divided himself into two, it was him and Srimati Radharani. So Srimati Radharani, in a way, she's also the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but manifested as his Hladini potency, which gives pleasure to him. And she represents Bhakti in all the other living entities that exist in the spiritual and material worlds. This Hladini potency means love towards God, and the essence of that love is called bhava, which means transcendental sentiment. So this whole Bhakti Yoga movement, this whole Krishna consciousness movement is made, and all the sadhana and rules and regulations are given so that we can actually develop bhava, or sentiment towards Krishna. And if we develop these sentiments towards Krishna, these emotions towards Krishna, then we can also develop higher and higher love, and we can experience higher and higher bliss, and we can actually be situated in our constitutional positions as servants of God, but also lovers of God, because we love him so much, therefore we serve him. And Srimati Radharani, she represents the best lover of God, because she has perfected the various ways in which to please the Lord and in which to show her love towards him. And therefore, because she is the best and she can feel the Mahabhava, the highest pitch of that prema, or love for God, therefore she's also the supreme lovable object of Sri Krishna, because her love and happiness and whatever she represents is so attractive to Krishna that he becomes in a way controlled by her. Verse 470. Of these two gopis, Radharani and Chandravali, Srimati Radharani is superior in all respects. She is the embodiment of Mahabhava, and she surpasses all in good qualities. So what is explained in this verse is like that there are certain gopis in the spiritual world, or even in the manifested pastimes on the earth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And of all of these gopis, there are two which are principal gopis, and they are called Radharani and Chandravali. And it is stated how Srimati Radharani is superior in all respects. she's the highest of them all. So this is just the glorification of Radharani, and this verse is spoken to establish her position in relation to everyone else who is a servant of the Lord. Her mind, senses, and body are steeped in love for Krishna. She is Krishna's own energy, and she helps him in his pastimes. Srimati Radharani is as fully spiritual as Krishna. No one should consider her to be material. She's definitely not like the conditioned souls who have material bodies, gross and subtle, covered by material senses. So even when she descends on this earth with Lord Krishna, she's completely spiritual. She is the personification of Hladini potency, and she has nothing to do with the material modes of nature. She is all spiritual, and both her body and her mind are of the same spiritual embodiment. Because her body is spiritual, her senses are also spiritual. Thus, her body, mind, and senses fully shine in love of Krishna. She is personified Hladini Shakti, the pleasure-giving energy of the Lord's internal potency, and therefore she is the only source of enjoyment for Krishna. Shri Krishna cannot enjoy anything that is internally different from him. And therefore, Radha and Krishna are identical. The Sandhini portion of Krishna's internal potency has manifested the all-attractive form of Shri Krishna, and the same internal potency in the Hladini feature has represented Srimati Radharani, who is the attraction for the all-attractive. No one can match Srimati Radharani in the transcendental pastimes of Shri Krishna. Yeah, I think I maybe made a mistake that I said that Sandhini is Lord Balaram. Actually, from this verse, it appears that Sandhini portion is Shri Krishna's manifestation. And Balaram is there for knowledge, which is actually logical, because Lord Balaram is also considered to be the first spiritual master. So therefore, the knowledge can come from him. But that's another topic. But I just wanted to correct what I said for someone who knows what this is about. Because some people, this is really philosophical, and also it's talking about spiritual energy and some terms which are not so close to us. So therefore I read so that maybe through the explanations of Srila Prabhupada, we can understand it better. But it's the explanation of the spiritual potencies, which are very difficult to realize when we are conditioned. So therefore, sometimes it seems like a really so much theory, but everything actually makes sense. That's why we have to read, so that we can get acquainted with all these terms and try to understand what spiritual potencies of Krishna are made of. And I have a wasp in my room. Yeah. So the next verse goes, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who resides in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, who resembles his own spiritual figure, and who embodies the ecstatic potency Hladini. Their companions are her confidants, who embody extensions of her bodily form, and who are imbued and permeated with ever blissful spiritual rasa. This text is from Brahma Samhita. So the whole point of this verse, why it's put here, is to show us that Radharani is not an ordinary person. So when Krishna is described in Goloka with him, Radharani is also described. So she's definitely a personality who is coming from the spiritual world, along with Shri Krishna when he descends on earth. So we should not consider her like an ordinary human being or Krishna as well. So text 473 says, now please listen to how Lord Krishna consorts help him taste rasa and how they help in his pastimes. Verses 474 and 75. The beloved consorts of Lord Krishna are of three kinds, the goddesses of fortune, the queens, and the milkmaids of Raja, who are the farmost of all. These consorts all proceed from Radhika. So again, a little bit of philosophy and a little bit of intellectual understanding of the spiritual world. Because if you can remember in the last chapter 3, we were talking about the external reasons for Mahaprabhu's descent. And therefore, it was also stated how it was explained how Krishna appears on this earth, and and anyway, the ways in he enjoys and how he manifests and which are his expansions and so on. So the same as was described for Lord Krishna about his forms, expansions, and the way he manifests in this world, the same will be described to Radharani. Because Radharani, whenever Krishna descends in any form and in any expansion, Radharani follows and she expands in, as this verse says, 3 kinds of ways. So these goddesses of fortune, the queens and the milkmaids of Raja, are actually the expansions of Srimati Radharani. And by this, she helps Krishna enjoy in these various roles that he takes when he manifests himself in the material world, but also in the spiritual world. And it is said here that the concerts all proceed from Radhika. So they're part of her energy. So no, in the sense like no conditioned ordinary jiva can become Radharani, can become goddess of fortune, can become queen or milkmaid of Raja. Just as the fountainhead, Lord Krishna, is the cause of all incarnations, so Sri Radha is the cause of all these consorts. So whenever he expands or incarnates, she also follows him in a certain way and incarnates and expands herself in these 3 features. The goddesses of fortune are partial manifestations of Srimati Radhika, and the queens are reflections of her image. So, as I said at the beginning, God is one, but he becomes many in order to enjoy. And we said how, in order to enjoy, one expands the 2 as 2 to enjoy. And therefore, he will also, because Lord Krishna is the Lord of enjoyment, and he wants to enjoy more and more. He wants his enjoyment to increase in unlimited ways, in ways we just cannot imagine. Therefore, for this enjoyment, he expands himself because he has this potency to do so. And in the same way, Radharani follows and expands herself for his pleasure and to help his pastimes. The goddesses of fortune are her plenary portions, and they display the forms of Vaibhava Vilasa. I'm not going to go now to the part, but this Vaibhava Vilasa also existed in reference to Krishna. It was Vaibhava Vilasa of Lord Krishna was Lord Narayan, Lord Vishnu, and so many other expansions of him, which are accompanied with goddesses of fortune in the spiritual world. The queens are of the nature of her Vaibhava Prakasha. So we were talking about how Lord Krishna, when he marries 16,108 queens, he expands himself so that he is individual person for each and every queen, and he has 16,108 palaces, and with each queen he has 10 children, and he lives with her, and he performs various activities in different of these palaces in a form of his Vaibhava Prakasha, in forms of Vaibhava Prakasha. And in the same way, these queens are also the reflections of Radharani and the Vaibhava Prakasha forms of Radharani, who help Krishna in this pastime when he performs these Lilas pastimes on earth or in the spiritual world. The Vraja Devis have diverse bodily features. They are her expansions and are instruments for expanding rasa. So the Gopis or the Vraja Devis in Vrindavan, they are the expansions of Radharani, and they help to expand the rasa or the relationship and the sweetness and the enjoyment of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan. Without many concerts, there is not such exaltation in rasa. Therefore, there are many manifestations of Srimati Radharani to assist in the Lord's pastimes. So this is evident. Among them are various groups of consorts in Raja who have varieties of sentiments and mellows. They help Lord Krishna taste all the sweetness of the rasa dance and other pastimes. So, as I said, he wants to enjoy, and therefore he becomes many, and he expands himself. And by expanding himself and enjoying various pastimes, he always has certain associates with him. And one of these associates are also the gopis of Raja, which have varieties of sentiments and mellows towards him. So each gopi is different. She has her own individuality, her own qualities, her own sentiments towards Krishna, and she create, not that they both create, the gopi and Krishna, they create a certain relationship that is also only individual for them. And in this way, because in each and every living entity there is a certain sweetness which Krishna likes, therefore everyone is different, but also this gives Krishna the opportunity to enjoy more, because Krishna is actually the only male. He is the supreme male, the enjoyer, and everyone is prakriti or female energy, which is to be enjoyed. So that's how he performs his pastimes. So let's read the purport of Srila Prabhupada, where he explains it very nicely. As already explained, Krishna and Radha are one and two, which we said. They are identical. Krishna expands himself in multi-incarnations and plenary portions like the Purushas. Similarly, Srimati Radharani expands herself in the multi-forms of the goddesses of fortune, the queens and damsels of Raja. Such expansions from Srimati Radharani are all her plenary portions. All these womanly forms of Krishna are expansions corresponding to his plenary portions of Vishnu forms. These expansions have been compared to reflected forms of the original form. There is no difference between the original form and the reflected forms. The female reflections of Krishna's pleasure potency are as good as Krishna himself. And then it's explained here what we already mentioned, in which way they're expanded. So it is said, for example, that the variety of innumerable mistresses is a source of relish for Krishna, and therefore these expansions from Srimati Radharani are necessary for enhancing the pleasure potency of Sri Krishna. Their transcendental exchanges of love are the super excellent affairs of the pastimes in Vrindavan. By the expansions of Srimati Radharani's personal body, she helps Lord Krishna taste the rasa dance and other similar activities. Srimati Radharani, being the central petal of the rasa flower, is also known by the names found in the following verses, and she will be glorified now. What is very important to note here is that this is the reason why this transcendental sweetness, rasa, spiritual relationships that exist in the spiritual world should never be compared to mundane relationship that we have in this world. First of all, it's totally impossible to have this kind of relationship in the material world. Second of all, nothing that is performed in the spiritual world is meant for sense gratification. It is just meant for giving spiritual pleasure to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And while giving and serving the Supreme Lord in this way, all these associates, which are expansions of Srimati Radharani, they feel the highest ecstasy in their relationship with Krishna, and it has nothing to do with any like sexual relationships which we have in this material world. And first of all, they don't have material bodies, they're completely spiritual, and whatever they do in their service towards Krishna, these gopis, they do it out of selfless love and surrender to Krishna. So this is something that can be understood through chanting of the Maha Mantra and through reading the scriptures. And this is mentioned here in this chapter 4 so that we can understand that this is something that is the highest that exists in the spiritual world. And we are so fortunate that Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu came to give this to us through the chanting of the Maha Mantra and through the books that he ordered Goswamis to write. And based on the books of the Goswamis, Srila Prabhupada and other acharyas in our disciplic succession acharyas meaning like saints that came in our line of teachers. So they left books on the order of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and based on these books, Lord Srila Prabhupada wrote these commentaries. So all the knowledge actually comes from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is not different from Krishna, and who gave this knowledge through the instructions to his disciples, who empowered their disciples, and so the knowledge came to us. So that's quite wonderful. And we are quite fortunate then that in the most fallen age that exists in the creation, we have the opportunity to taste the highest bliss through the chanting of the Mahamantra. So now we will come to the verses which glorify Srimati Radharani. Radha is the one who gives pleasure to Govinda, and she is also the enchantress of Govinda. She is the be-all and end all of Govinda, and the crest jewel of all his concepts. So this is the description of her greatness. The transcendental goddess Srimati Radharani is the direct counterpart of Lord Shri Krishna. She is the central figure for all the goddesses of fortune. She possesses all the attractiveness to attract the all-attractive personality of Godhead. She is the primeval internal potency of the Lord. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is called Krishna. Krishna means all attractive. So everyone is attracted by Krishna. He has this potency. But Srimati Radharani is the one who even attracts Krishna, who is all attractive, which in a way means that she's even more attractive than Krishna, who is all attractive. So that is also her greatness. Devi means resplendent and most beautiful, or else it means the lovely abode of the worship and love sports of Lord Krishna. So this is like that as we explained, I hope we explained, that Krishna, the Lord, he accepts names and is given names according to his activities. So therefore he's known by many names. And we said his primary name is Krishna, which means all attractive, Rama, the reservoir of all pleasure, and many other names. Hrishikesha, the master of all senses, Yogeshwara, the master of yoga, and so on, or the perfect yogi. So in that sense, Radharani also has various of names, and these various of names that she has actually talk about her qualities. So that therefore it is mentioned here that Devi means resplendent and most beautiful, and that it can also mean the lovely abode of the worship and love sports of Lord Krishna. And whenever she is described and whenever she is given names, it's always in connection to Krishna and her activities in giving pleasure to him. So another name is Krishnamai, which means one who's within and without, who's within and without our Lord Krishna. She sees Lord Krishna wherever she casts her glance. Okay. Or Krishnamai means that she is identical with Lord Krishna, for she embodies the mellows of love. The energy of Lord Krishna is identical with him because it's part of his energy. Her worship, Aradhana, consists of fulfilling the desires of Lord Krishna. Therefore, the Puranas call her Radhika. So, the name Radha is derived from the root word Aradhana, which means worship. The personality who excels all in worshipping Krishna may therefore be called Radhika, the greatest servitor. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that Srimati Radharani is not mentioned, but actually she is mentioned in one verse. I think it's in the chapter that concerns the rasa dance, where she is referred to with the word Aradhana, which actually means that she excels others in the worship of Krishna. So in that way, she is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. And then Sanatana Goswami explains in Brihad Bhagavatamrita why Shukadev Goswami, who spoke Srimad Bhagavatam, could not mention the name of Radharani or could not mention her. And it is explained that if he would just speak her name, he would fall into such ecstasy that he would not be able to speak Srimad Bhagavatam until the end. So he would be in total ecstasy, in total samadhi, not able to regain external consciousness and continue with his mission of speaking Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit. So therefore, she's indirectly mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. But she's very much emphasized in Chaitanya Charitamrita, especially because Lord Chaitanya comes and he actually gives us all of this, the most confidential rasa, but with giving the most confidential rasa to the most fallen in this age of Kali, he also gives information of who is Radharani, because she's quite hidden, because this kind of relationships that Krishna has with his most intimate associates, of which the most intimate is Srimati Radharani, is considered to be very confidential. So in that sense, it is not spoken about it so freely. So therefore, we are very lucky that we have the opportunity to know about her. Truly, the personality of Godhead has been worshipped by her. Therefore, Lord Govinda, being pleased, has brought her to a lonely spot, leaving us behind. So this is an indication. This is actually the verse I was mentioning. So this is the verse in which Radharani is indirectly mentioned, because there is a word in Sanskrit in the first part of the shloka, which says aradita, which means worshipped. So she's been mentioned as someone who worships the Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna was pleased with her, and therefore he brought her to a lonely spot, leaving us behind. So the other gopis, when they were performing the rasa dance, of which if you go to Canto 10 and chapter 30 of Srimad Bhagavatam, you can read about the rasa dance there. And at one instance, the gopis were left behind. So Krishna just took Radharani and went to a lonely spot with her. So they were lamenting over this incident, and therefore they indirectly mentioned Srimati Radharani. To continue, therefore Radha is the Parama Devata, the supreme goddess, and she is worshipable for everyone. She is the protectress of all, and she is the mother of the entire universe. I have already explained the meaning of Sarva Lakshmi. Radha is the original source of all the goddesses of fortune. Or Sarva Lakshmi indicates that she fully represents the 6 opulences of Krishna. Therefore, she is the supreme energy of Lord Krishna. So again, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains the meaning of one of her names. The word Sarvakanti indicates that all beauty and luster rest in her body. All the Lakshmis derive their beauty from her. Kanti may also mean all the desires of Lord Krishna. All the desires of Lord Krishna rest in Srimati Radharani, because she has the potency to fulfill them. Srimati Radhika fulfills all the desires of the Lord. This is the meaning of Sarvakanti. Lord Krishna enchants the world, but Sri Radha enchants even him. Therefore, she is the supreme goddess of all. Sri Radha is the full power, and Lord Krishna is the possessor of full power. The two are non-different, as evidenced by the revealed scriptures. They are indeed the same, just as musk and its scent are inseparable, or as fire and its heat are non-different. And I think this is a really beautiful analogy, because if we separate the musk or the scent or the fire or the heat, then it's no longer the fire or the musk, if you separate these two. Thus Radha and Lord Krishna are one, yet they have taken 2 forms to enjoy the mellows of pastimes. We mentioned that. To promulgate Prema Bhakti, devotional service and love of Godhead, Krishna appeared as Krishna Chaitanya with the mood and complexion of Sri Radha. Thus I have explained the meaning of the fifth verse. So then Krishna Das Kaviraj here, he revealed that actually Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came in the mood of Srimati Radharani as Krishna. He has a golden complexion, and he has a golden complexion because Radharani has a golden complexion. But he's that same Krishna, blackish Krishna, who is hiding under that complexion because he wanted to enjoy the mood of Srimati Radharani. To explain the sixth verse, I shall first give a hint of its meaning. And here we will stop. So now we have come to the half of the chapter, and we will continue in 2 weeks, I hope. If you have any questions, you can always ask. Especially, I mean, sometimes it may be difficult to understand who is Radharani and what is her potency. And all these categories and philosophical explanations of the spiritual world sometimes can be very difficult for us to comprehend. Okay, but as I can see, there are no comments. Anyway, thank you for your attention. I hope that we can, in the following verses, we will go quicker through the whole chapter. But anyway, it's a very nice chapter because we can learn a lot about these amazing personalities, and we can actually understand how lucky we are that we have been given knowledge about them, and actually the method by which we can experience everything that now here in theory we are listening to about. So yeah, so thank you again, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Hare Krishna.